All right, day 2, how you like it? Thank you, thank you. I just want the Mass Mutual team to know that there was a member of your team that said we should extend this to 3 days. And I explained to her or him that that would be a bigger sponsorship. So just letting you know. Come on here, Renee. I'm not going to tell you who that person's name is, though. Huh? Well, thank you guys for being here, and I got my little friend on the stage with me. That's a joke. That's a shout out to Kirsten. That's what she told us yesterday. We was little friends. That's what she called us. But I want to thank you guys for being here so much. And me and Renee did this talk. 4
or 5 years ago.
About 4 or 5 years ago we did this talk. And so, as we were preparing, I'm telling everybody this is what we did to prepare. This was our prep, and you want to know this happened at lunchtime today. So, as we were preparing, we realized that our lives have changed so much. The name of this talk is Building Your Personal Career Firewall, Mental Resilience and Building Your Own Personal Firewall. And so we decided we were just going to refresh this, and we were going to do something new and different just because our lives have changed in that time, right? And so I think, am I starting or you starting?
Well, before you start,
Okay.
I have something I need to say. I would be remiss,
Okay. All right.
Miss Chaney, my little friend. I would be remiss if I did not stand here as your friend and as a fellow black woman and say how very proud I am of you. See, people talk about the crab in the barrel type thing. They talk about people not supporting. They talk about sisters not supporting each other.
Stop. I'm not going to cry.
I'm
Stop.
proud of you, girl.
Thank you, baby. She's trying to make me cry, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, we're not going to cry, but what you see here is friendship. Unconditional. We say things to each other. We probably won't let other people in the street say to us, right?
Right about that.
But we support each other in many ways, right? And it has some to do with work, some to do with family, other relationships. It's friendship. And it has helped make my journey easier to have this friendship, right? We talk about building a board and having people on our board. We on each other's board. We support each other.
Well, I thank you, and she's right that we say stuff to each other that we wouldn't let people in the street say. Because, and see, this is the problem. It's a side note, but I'm going to make it quick. Because how did I end up in Sierra Leone, and how did we end up bringing Gemma here, is that Renee called me and said, I'm going to tell you where you going to be.
I did.
On Mother's Day last year. I'm going to tell you where you're going to be. She didn't ask me. She just told me. And I was like, well, you need to tell Vita too.
I said, come on. We go.
But when it comes to personal career firewall, what we're talking about is the fact that we go through challenges and trials and tribulations in our personal lives, as she pointed out, that spills over into our career and our profession. We're all human. right? And so when we get up here and we share what we've been through, we're trying to teach, again, lessons, right? And so me and Renee thought about themes, because that's all we got, our 4 themes. And Renee, you chose listening because you had some things that you wanted to say.
Yeah, right. It just kills me when people don't listen. I'm going to roll back a little bit. You know how when you were growing up and mama and daddy said something, all they wanted you to do was listen, right? And that seemed to be difficult, right, when you were a kid. So now we fast forward to us trying to survive in these careers. And people come to you and they ask advice and they say certain things, and the person that you pour into, and that's the thing about Mary and I, we pour into whoever we're talking to. Whatever individual person that I'm speaking to at that given time, it might not look like it because I can be looking a little aloof sometimes, but I am listening to you. I am digesting what you're saying, and when I'm giving back to you, I'm giving you everything I have. I spoke to a woman this morning. She asked me a question about where she should go in her career. I gave her 3 or 4 bullet points about what she needed to execute on. I ain't gonna call her out, but she knows she in here, right? I laid it out for her. It was easy for me to lay that one out for her. All of them aren't easy, but that one was easy because I had walked that path before. So if someone has walked that path, has taken that journey, and that person is pouring into you, I'm not saying you got to go word for word or whatever somebody's saying, but allow what they're saying to resonate with you. Meditate on it. Think about it like, okay, this may not work out the exact same way for me. I might have to not do it exactly the same way, but let me take this wise counsel from this person and make it fit for me so that I can grow. Because that's what it's all about, right? That's what we want to do. We want to grow as individuals. And sometimes that growing means we have to listen. Now, one of the other things that we're going to talk about that's on the list is keeping our mouth shut. Somebody told me in the hallway, said, oh, I really like when you talk because you just keep it real plain. Yeah, keep your mouth shut.
But can I talk about listening before
Talk
you...
about listening. Talk about listening, sis.
Before you move on to the next topic.
To shut up, okay.
Now, and what we mean by this, because most folks, or at least I know I am a natural mentor. There are things that when you're struggling that I hear your struggle because I'm a part or have been a part of your struggle. So when you're struggling and you come to me, now understand, now those of you that are close to me know that there's only so much listening I'm going to do about you complaining before I ask you how you going to execute. Okay? Because I mean, I will listen. I got a heart. I will listen. Nicole will listen to you and she will empathize with you. Mary would say, okay, well, what are you going to do next? Put a Band-Aid on it, do some push-ups. Where we going? Right? Because what I cannot have, or what you cannot do is allow yourself to wallow in your challenge. Right? And so again, Mary's answer will probably always be go work out first. That's always probably going to be my answer, right?
What's mine?
Folks, go get you some snacks.
Okay.
You need some chocolate or a cookie or something. Go meditate. That's what see, we were talking about this earlier. So all I'm saying is you have to build your mental resilience, you have to keep your mind clear. What works for me is working out. That's what keeps my mind clear. You have to find what works for you because when you're butting your head up against these challenges and someone is now, and you get the courage to now come talk to somebody, you have to have a clear mind to listen to what their words that they're giving you back. That's all we're doing. That's all you do. What we're trying to do is help you build that resiliency by giving you the opportunity to let. Now, yeah, you don't want to say that to your boss. My answer is always, open up a Word document and type out what you want, that you really want to say, but you can't say that, right? Edit. You have to understand that, everything that comes out of your mouth is part of your brand. So again, that listening, we will listen to you, but then we're going to, what are we going to do next? So now she wanted to switch over into.
But now I want to add something about the listening. Because you don't always listen with your ears, you need to listen with your eyes. And your heart. Right? You need to learn how to read a room. Look. Pay attention to the body language. You can tell if somebody's feeling it or not, right? Pay attention. Keep your eyes wide open. Don't have them wide shut. Listen with your ears. Listen with your mind. Listen with your eyes. Listen with your heart and that gut. Because that gut, 9 times out of 10, is going to tell you, oops, something not right here.
That's when you keep your mouth shut.
That's when you got to keep that
we
mouth shut.
don't have to practice. It just naturally comes up. That's when you keep your mouth shut. Now, I have stories, but you wanted to start this one?
You can go ahead.
I can start. Okay. All right. So we at different places in your career, you start to think about different things. I'm an attorney. And so last year, I was going through a lot of CISO interviews and VP interviews. And one of the CISO interviews I had, they wanted me to put together a presentation that I would present to the board of directors about an initiative. And I asked the guy in the interview, I said, but if I give you the answer, why would you have to hire me? So I'm giving you the answer so you can go hire somebody else to do it, to execute. That doesn't really make sense to me. And then the Mike Lee people will tell you I have them all sign NDAs. That's an ongoing joke. Because I do. Those in Fight Club can't talk about Fight Club. Y'all, do anybody know that reference? Or am I? Okay, thank you. The younger y'all get, the more I age myself, right? But again, when you're going through these interviews, you're pouring. Again, as minorities, we're operating from a position of what I call social insecurity. So we start to try to prove that we know what we know. And then we just start giving up everything. And the question becomes, okay, if I'm telling you everything and how to solve the problem that you're looking for, then you can just go execute. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's happened to me in the past, where I would say, okay, well, I'll do this, and this is what I will do. Minorities in cybersecurity exist today because I poured my heart into another organization and told them what my dream was. And then they said, oh, well, yeah, you can execute on that. However, you're not going to get the job that you were interviewing for. And I said, okay, wait a minute. I'll be right back. And now we're here. Right? Go right ahead.
That's a painful thing. It's very, very painful to pour yourself into something, right? You sit there and you give everything, right? As Mary said, we go in and we pour it all out because we were brought up under, you have to be twice as good. You got to do twice as much. So when you're sitting at the table, you're coming from a place that's so deep on the inside that after it's over, it leaves you depleted. And when it doesn't work out the way that you think it's going to work out, it hurts, right? Now, I'm not saying that to say that everything you go for, you're going to get. We all have that, right? But some of the things that Mary and I have gone through, especially over the last couple of years in our career, have been situations in which we've gone for something, and shortly after we were told that we could not be the face of it or that we could not lead. We're then said, but you can come over here and you can do this, this, and this. And I was like, but isn't that what that is? But I can't lead. That hurts. It hits you right here, right? When we talked yesterday about the fact that we are more than these jobs and these things, we say that because we've gone through giving everything and forgetting in the moment, right? You forget in the moment when you're trying to get it. You forget that I am so much more than whatever technological thing that you want me to do here. And when that is not viewed as something that is real, tangible, valued, it hurts.
No, can I interject a little bit here, because I need them to understand just how much we went through, to how much we poured into opportunities, right? And you could just make the assumption these are C-level opportunities. Do you want to talk about us being in the kitchen cooking? Renee was going for a gig. Oh, I'm telling it. Renee was going for a gig, and she was in the middle of interviewing for a gig. That particular owner of that company had called us out, and yeah, okay, I have to be careful. Called us out to their home. And so in their home, you know, Nay and I, we're doing our thing. Now, I'm the barbecuer. I got the barbecue chicken. No, Ossie, we are not adding a barbecue to next year's conference. Don't ask. But I'm the barbecuer. What you cook, Nay?
I bake goods.
Carbs.
I know.
But you made some good collard greens.
Oh, I'm good with some greens. So you know I'm country. But
so go ahead.
But to Mary's point with that was a situation in which we overpoured. When you look back in retrospect, we overpoured.
No, we had trusted that.
Yeah.
That wasn't. It's a difference when you trust that this isn't the reason I'm here.
Yeah. Because you
right?
just want to be accepted as a person.
That part.
Yeah, you just want to be a person, right? And then all of a sudden you realize that, no, not so much.
Well, because
and
minorities themselves, we struggle with this whole idea of belonging in
yes.
other cultures, right? And so here we are doing our best to belong in a particular culture, thinking that we're going to be just as individuals, as people. You know, anybody in here can ask me to grill, and I'll give me the charcoal and get the chicken. I got you. Mm-hmm. I don't eat pork, but I got you on some chicken. Hamburger, steak, got it. I don't have a problem with that. That's just who I am. Mm-hmm. It's part of me. I'm pouring into you something that I was naturally able to do, not because I want anything out of it. It's not my reason. I didn't go into it. But when you look at it from the hindsight of it,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Because when you, sometimes, let me ask y'all this. Sometimes, don't you just want a friend? Right? Just respect me as a human being. Plain and simple.
See me as human.
Right? See me as human. See me as who I am. Right? Disappointment, I can take disappointment. I've been black all my life. Lord knows I can take some. I got pretty tough skin. But when you take someone in and you put them in here, we all know that hurts. So when we continue to do that and we deplete, now I'm going to slip into the mental health.
Okay. When we deplete ourselves, it affects our physical and our mental health. The dehumanization, there's a Harvard study out about the effects of long-term dehumanization. And when we go through that all the time, right? So I'm not talking about just what happens when we
you know, deal with whatever we got to deal with, right? When we go in the store and they don't act like you're there, or the person moves their purse to the other side, right? Or I was in a recent situation where when I ran out of juice in the Tesla on the mountains, and the Ford F-150s were revving engines around me, right? Like, when you go through those things, that takes a toll on you over a period of time. But what do? Each day, we still come back in to these jobs. I'm here, and I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to do. Once you start inching up on 10, 20, 30 years,
it gets hard.
It gets hard. You start running out of gas. It's hard to pull that poker face in, right?
You don't have a poker face no more.
I know. I've been working on it.
It's gone.
It's
you
gone.
Had one.
But it is enormous. And so what I want to share with you is you have to come up with coping mechanisms to be able to deal with that. I wish I could say that it's not going to happen. I wish I could say that it's not going to happen, right? I wish I have 2 adult children, and I wish for them that these things were not going to be there. But I had to prepare them for what they were going to face when they step out there. And sure enough, they face it, right? But you have to come up with a coping mechanism that allows you to survive. So you've seen Mary, she going to kickbox, right? She going to kickbox. With me, I'm going to get my KitchenAid out. I'm going to cream the butter and the sugar and the whatever. And that is my coping
I'm not going
mechanism.
to her house when I'm stressed out.
You know, it is what it is. But it's difficult. It's difficult.
And I think, you know, as minorities, and what we're trying to fight is what happened to me when I was looking up to other women of color in this space maybe 5 or 10 years ago. And I was looking for a guide. I was looking for advice. I was looking for counsel. And they were so mentally depleted that they just, essentially, it wasn't that they were turning their back on me personally. They were just damn tired, right? And it's like fighting that battle day in and day out. You have to have coping mechanisms to be able to allow you to continue to get up every day. Right, and you have, and the journey, and as I tell the leaders in the Mike Lead program, I'm teaching you about yourself, because it's yourself that's going to determine what type of leader you want to be. It's a self-discovery. Everybody, you can't do it like I do it, you know, and it has to be your own. But I can give you principles, I can give you ideas, I can tell you what I've been through to develop the resiliency, because I do not remember which talk. I did get sleep last night, but I've been roaming all day. But the question, well, the answer was you're always gonna have these moments in your career where you ask yourself, is this really worth it? And then, you know, I think it might have been quiet quitting, but the quiet quitting panel itself that's the new term, y'all like to rebrand stuff. What that means is someone is not engaged in their career anymore, or they're working at a job that they can care less about. And I know I have. How many of you have worked at a job that you no longer care, you just collecting your check, right? That you've already quit. Now they call it quiet quitting. That's like, no, just cut my check. What you say? Yeah. Okay. You just want to make sure that I counted your hand. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. Alejandro, I'll see you back there too. But all see, they be trying to throw me. All that to be said, you get in these situations where you're just collecting a check, and then you ask yourself, it has to be something more than this. Where that mental resiliency kicks in is when you know you've reached your limit. Some folks continue to butt their head against the wall, Mary Galloway. They continue to butt their head against the wall, wishing and hoping things will change, and it's not. it's just not going to change. So now the mental resiliency, yes, I'm talking about you. The mental resiliency and the protection comes in to recognize that I need to go because this is not for me. Because you're only replenishing your brand if you stay somewhere and you're just cutting your check. Now, now wait a minute, hold on. There are places that I've been that the check was too nice for me not to collect it. I was like, okay, so I got this to do. I want to do the painting here. I want to do some hardwood floors here. Okay, carry the one. I'm gonna have to stay for about 4 more months. Okay, all right. However, when I know that, because at my level, at many executive levels, it's gonna take about 6 months for you to land that next role. So if you're in that 6-month time zone, it's like, all right, well, let me go get my resume together. You have to know when you're mentally checked out, because you're not going to be successful in whatever you want to do if you are checked out and you're not putting your best into your career.
Absolutely. You have to know when it's time to go. You gotta know it. You have to know. You have to be honest and true with yourself. I talked about it yesterday. Opportunity. I am grateful for every opportunity that has been opened for me. And I have had people open doors of opportunity for me. But when the door closes, when that place is no longer a place where I can grow or help to grow others, then it's time for me to go. When you talk about, when Mary was talking about her projects, I like my projects too. One of the projects that I have right now is I've come to grips with the fact that I may not make it to another level. This might be as high as I go. Something might fall off the truck, I don't know. But what my goal is now, how I'm comfortable with that, I take solace in the journey that I've taken. But my goal is to help somebody like me get there before I did. See, because it took me to this point, to the end, right? I get toward the end of my career to get there. Shouldn't be that way. Because sometimes we see counterparts and they, right there, and I'm like, huh? I'm still smelling Similac on the breath. But I want to, that's what keeps me going, right? When I see, like the young woman who I spoke with earlier today who asked me the question about how to navigate. And I said, okay, this, and this. If that woman, if I run up on her a year from now, and she comes to me and she says, hey, I don't work here anymore. I've moved to this level. I took what you said and I went here and I did that and I did this and I grew. Then for me, in my heart, I know I have done what I was called to do. And that's purely and simply to help, right? To help folks grow. If not, it would be robbery, pure robbery of me to have gone through the things that we done gone through and not be able to stand here and stand before you guys and say, look, let me help you. Because when we first started out, we didn't have this.
Yeah,
we didn't have this.
And I say Mike is here to build CISOs, right? To build people that are meant to be at the top level of their career. Because I think I said this yesterday. I don't need to be a CISO. I'm good. I'm a CEO. Okay, yeah, that part. Because I had the last corporate job I had, this woman that wasn't even in cybersecurity was my manager, and I build leaders. So she said something to me that I would never tell anybody else to say. She said how did she put it? Sometimes the executive leadership doesn't feel like they need a full-time privacy and cybersecurity person. And that's when the poker face didn't, there was no poker. I went straight for her on the call. And this is what I said, well, if the executive leadership feels that that's the case, y'all go ahead and give me a package. I'll go ahead and go. Mm-hmm. I will, it's okay. I'm not a young person that feels that I have to prove myself to somebody that is not even my equal. And what I can tell you opportunities that I've had in my past that I did that I felt that I went ahead and went through with it, and I felt that I had to prove myself, but I'm grown. And I'm sorry, and it was post-50s. There's something that happened to a woman when she turned 50. Listen, either you're going to listen to me or you're not. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel that I'm too old to feel that I have to prove myself to somebody that can't even hold a candle. I said, Congress called me, wanted me to interview in front of the House of Representatives. I said, I'm in the rooms with Supreme Court justices, and Becky with the good hair is sitting here telling me, see, oh, it's the end of the conference. Okay, and she's telling me that she doesn't value what I do because again, this is coming from you. Because when I came back at you, oh no, that's not what I meant. No, it's good. It's good that you said how you felt. Because what that told me at this point in my career is that I'm beyond trying to prove myself to somebody who doesn't value what I do. Mm-hmm. And y'all got plenty of data. So, Mary got petty. And I'm going to tell y'all what I did. I know I'm being recorded, but it's okay. I got real petty and I got silent.
Oh, so, yeah, that's a good one.
I got, keeping your mouth shut. You don't need me, then I ain't got nothing to say. But again, you have to get to a point where I knew when she said what she said that I wasn't going to pour into that opportunity anymore. Because you told me how you felt about me. All I have to do is listen. You don't value what I do. There's nothing that I can do to prove to you that I have value because you already devalued me. So from a mental resiliency perspective, I was like, boop. Like I said, I got real petty. And then the last day, she had the nerve to send me this little nasty little email. What y'all think I did? I hit delete. The best way in the world, if you get something that emotionally charges you, just delete it. And block. Delete and block. Delete and block.
In your personal life, too.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
A situation that I had that was like that was when, and it hurt, too, when the person said it. I had built a national level program. And new person comes in, and this person tells me, I don't see any value in what you've done. Now, I done been up on the Hill, I done been in the paper, I'm been on the TV. I'm like, huh? What we talking about?
She didn't Google you.
Yeah. And it hit like a ton of bricks, right? But I shut my mouth. I didn't react how she thought I was going to react. Inside, I might want to just go off, but I was like, okay. That means it's time for me to go, right? That means it's time, as Mary said, you got to know in yourself, right? Because you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do anything to touch your brand. So in the moment when those things happen, you make a decision and you say, I'm moving forward. Every job has a mouthpiece. I went and I told a mouthpiece who I knew was going to go right back and tell her.
That's petty too, y'all.
That's not petty. I told a mouthpiece that, hey, I'm out. I'm like, just tell her, just give me time to get out the door. And I went on my job search. I didn't run. I didn't do anything. I took my time and I found the next right position for me. Now, the cumulative effect of those situations happening to you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again is rough. It affects you mentally and physically. That's why when it happens, you have to react quickly to protect your psyche. You've got to, don't keep dragging it out. Don't keep sitting there being abused or whatever. At some point, it's your fault because you're sitting there, right? So like Mary says, you can't keep, you know, if you come and I give you the advice and you got people that's trying to give you wise counsel, but you're so comfortable in the midst of that and you won't leave, then at some point it's your fault. So you're going to have to say, well, this is what I've seen. I'm going to believe it. I think Maya Angelou, God rest her soul, said when you got to believe them when you see them. Yeah, when
Somebody
you see it,
show you who they are, you believe them.
You got to believe them. And so when you see that, act and react accordingly to protect yourself. It's nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with protecting yourself. Having that personal firewall, right? Having something around you that says, you know what? You think you got me, but you really don't. I had one of my mentors, and this is a little trick that I still use to this day. One of my mentors said to me, she said, on the day that somebody thinks they have you, the next day, go in there with the loudest thing you got on.
Red suit, red power suit.
Oh, yeah. So when somebody think they got me, because people will play a game with you mentally sometimes, and then what they're doing is trying to diminish you, and they keep beating you down, and then you can't even think right. You can't even execute, right? And she says, no, don't do that. She said, you look your best. You get that makeup, hair fried, dyed, laid to the side, outfit down, and you put on the loudest thing you got, and you strut in. All sookie now. Right? And literally that's what I do. Even from a Zoom perspective, I'm gonna put on a red hood, right?
Put on some lipstick.
I'm gonna put on something, right? Don't do that. Take care of yourself, your inner soul, your inner peace, right? Protect that at all costs. Because when you are protecting that inner peace, you are operating at maximum execution. You're operating at maximum execution. And when you're executing, because everybody wants somebody to execute, everybody wants somebody delivering for them. When you're operating at that optimal level, when you're operating at a level that you're delivering so high above whatever anybody has asked you to do, even if they don't value, I'm feeling good about it because I know my stuff is good.
Yeah, I mean, in building relationships is important in this situation. For some reason, I don't know why, maybe that was fortuitous that I am a CEO, because I think like a business executive first. Okay, and I'm gonna tell a real quick story. So, can I tell you the name of the company? No.
No.
Okay. All right. So, okay. All right, Vita, Renee, I got it. I'm working for an organization. Well, I mean, the story don't work if I don't say. Okay.
Don't
So,
tell
okay,
it.
I'm working for an organization, and they're talking about, we're in this cybersecurity executive leadership meeting, and they're talking about what this organization does for a business. And they say, such and such is a technology company. And I said, no, such and such is a subscription-based company. You innovate so somebody will pay you monthly for it. That's the only reason. Don't get it twisted. Don't sit there, and try to change yourself into a technology company. That's not what you are. You innovate so somebody can pay you monthly. Because if you make a product and nobody's going to pay you extra for it, guess what? You losing your customers, right? And so one of my peers, you know, the peer relationship is something that, you know, I haven't mastered yet. The peer said, "Oh, well, Mary, I think don't let the CEO hear you say that, because I don't think that's right." And I sat back. I did one of the Renee numbers. I sat back in my chair, and I crossed my hands. The CISO came into the meeting. That person said exactly the same thing I did about what we do as a business. And I did not say, "I told you so." I did not even look in his direction. I just was like, okay. I said, so you need to understand where you are, what's going on around you, what you do for a business.
Read the room.
I've always had relationships with C-level executives that trumped my peer relationships. So I always had a protector, because I always had to go find. I never really had a mentor in any organization I worked with. But if I'm sitting down talking to the CEO, or, you know, they have the executive leadership summits and meetings and whatever, and they always want to talk to the cybersecurity people, and I'm in the executive team and I'm talking, and we're having a conversation. And just by the words that I'm using, you know, I understand the business side. I don't talk geek speak, because I feel like if you talk geek speak, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. If you're not able to translate what you do every day to how it relates to the business, then you're not an executive, period. And so for that, I'm talking business talk, you know, and then you have the insecure white male that's sitting up there talking in acronyms and whatever. And I told y'all I don't do the peer thing right. I haven't. And so it's like, the executives tend to come to me when they want an explanation that doesn't include firewalls or switches or cloud CASBs. And let me explain to you what this really means, right? And how this impacts the business. And so all of that to be said, whenever I've had challenges, and I was in one, bless you, dear, I was in one very, very challenging situation, and I had gotten to the breaking point. Now, another reason you might want to stay, as a side note, is because contractually they pay for some stuff, and you need to go ahead and fill out your contractual requirements. You know, for executives, back in the day, they used to buy houses. I worked for an organization that bought my house because it was hard to sell. So I had a 2-year thing. So I had to sit there for 2 years. But anyway, all that to be said, when I was checked in, I was talking to this executive, and it happened to be my boss's boss's boss. It's the CTO. All right, and so I was a director, and I was talking to the CTO, and I was engaged. I was involved. Still, I was the only on the executive team, the only out of about globally probably about 200 folks, because they got us all together. You know, they used to like retreats and stuff. But all that to be said, I'm talking to the CTO, and I was engaged because I was new to the organization. I drank the Kool-Aid, right? 18 months later, he saw me in the hallway at a different executive meeting, and I wasn't. I was sitting there like Renee with my hands crossed. I ain't answer no questions. Don't talk to me. And he looked at me, and it was at that time I was actually negotiating with another organization, so I knew I was on my way out the door. And he looks at me. He was like, "Mary, come see me." And I'm like, "Oh, crap. What do you want with me?" Right? Because we had already had that bond, right? And he saw it, and I knew he saw it. The change in my behavior over the course of the past 18 months, where I was month 3 and where I was month 18. That's emotional intelligence in a leader, to be able to look at somebody and tell when they are engaged and when they're not. And so I was like, okay, this is the CTO. I'm going to get my other contract. Maybe I ain't even going to be able to get on his calendar. I'll go talk to his admin. See, it's the CTO. And so I was like, all right, it's going to take about 3 weeks for me to get on this calendar. So I should be out of here by then. Don't you know that secretary said to me, I'm sorry, his admin person said, oh, he has a free on Tuesday. This was like Friday. I'm like, mother. So I had to go in there, and I told him flat out, I'm leaving. And no, actually, I had to have the conversation with my boss first, because a horrible thing to do is to let your boss's boss tell your boss that you leaving. So I had to go have the conversation with my boss first before I had the conversation with the CTO, because I still thinking about my boss, because I could have just had him under the bus, right, and let the CTO tell you that I'm leaving. But I told him, and I went to the CTO and I explained to him why I was leaving. He said, Mary, why didn't you come to me before this happened? Mm. I was like, the person I'm having a problem with is your direct report. You're not going to fire her. Mm-hmm. So I might as well remove myself from the situation. Mm-hmm. But I've always had those relationships, and value your relationships internally and externally, and learn to translate. And that's, again, some of the stuff we do in Mike Lee. Translate technology talk, geek speak to business speak, if you want or aspire to be an executive.
Let's pull on the relationship thread a bit.
That's not on our list, Renee.
It ain't. Did we miss something on the list?
No, we didn't miss nothing, but that ain't. But you go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to pull on that trust relationship. Building relationships is key. Some people build relationships very easy. Some people are, talkative. They can sell you swamp water, and they just build relationships, right? Building that trust relationship is a double-edged sword, because trust is something I know some of you all who have been in my class have heard me say, trust is gained in drops, right? But it's lost in buckets. And so for any individual in here, whether or not that's been a personal relationship or a business relationship, when you can build a solid trust relationship, you execute better. And learning how to build trust relationships at multiple levels is important. The higher you go up, the harder it is to build trust relationships at the peer level. Reason being, everybody's fighting for territory. Human nature, right? But you have to find a way to do it. Have to find a way to, what is it that motivates that person? Because at the end of the day, I like to execute. I'm here to I want to get the job done, right? And so I look at it almost as a puzzle. And which pieces of this puzzle do I need in order to execute? The first piece of that puzzle that I need to execute is Renee got to have her A game. So Renee got to be feeling good, mentally and physically. Renee has to be able to be comfortable, right? So I got to find some comfort in there somewhere. I got to find a few trust relationships. So if I only got 2, right, and it's 300 people, then I got to nestle myself within those trust relationships. And then I have to guard myself from those untrusted relationships to protect my what? My mental and my physical health, so that I can execute. So at the end of the day, and this is just a pet peeve I have of mine, for any engagement that I have, when I end the engagement, I'm good if I walk away and say, I delivered this. I don't care that you didn't like it. I don't care that you didn't value it. I don't care if you even want to tie somebody else's name to it. It might hurt, it might make me mad. But I sleep well at night knowing that, what the young people say, I tied that knot. Right? That I did that. That I have within me the ability to execute at a level even though others may not value it, it's got to be about what Renee think about what Renee is and what Renee can do. If you constantly operate in a space where you're only focused and you are judging your value based on how somebody else values you or judges you, you're setting yourself up for hurt. It has to be about self, right? It has to be, what do I want to do? What do I want my brand to be about, right? There are a couple things that people know right off the break you're going to get from Renee. People always tell me, oh, you're so direct. Yep. You don't have to guess what I'm thinking. I am going to tell you. That helps me execute, right? I don't want people killing time, wasting time. I hate people wasting time. Don't waste time trying to figure out what I'm thinking about. Let me tell you straight up what I'm thinking about, okay? The other thing that I try to do is when I'm looking at talent around me, I am looking at who within my sphere that can help me execute. Because we got to achieve this. We got to take this hill. So if that's what we have to do, what resources, what skills, what is it that the individual has before me that allows me to bring into that circle, that allows me to execute? Again, keyword execute, because that's me. That's what I like to do, right? Some people good with just shooting the breeze all day. I like to talk too. But at the end of the day, it has to be about, okay, what did we deliver? What did we do? Okay, you don't like me. Okay, cool, you don't like me. But guess what? I delivered this. What you do today?
Yeah, she told you to
My
wrap it up.
daughter told me.
So you don't delete your IP like I do, huh? Okay.
No,
I take mine with me.
No, but when, okay, but
we gotta take questions. No, Renee, no, stop it.
We gotta take questions.
We gotta take questions.
Somebody,
and it's like 5 minutes, and you know it's 5 minutes to wine time. Come on.
Just gave us, but this is my question. Idealistically, in my journey, if I were to walk into a new job, see some folks that look like me at the job, kind of be happy. I would think that I know I'm not the only one. But I know the reality is that when you go to a job, you have people that look like you that are not necessarily for you. And will probably you might have somebody that would sabotage you. So my question is, how do you identify that?
I got this.
And how do you fight that or combat it?
I turned my mic off. Go ahead. Come on, Reverend Doctor. I sat down because this is a pain point, and I don't have anything else to say. Thank you very much for joining the Minorities in Service.
First of all, when you walk in, remember I said I'm walking in, I'm looking for talent. Truth be told, I really don't care what color that talent is. You can be light blue, because I'm trying to execute. What you bring to the table that allows me to execute. Operating in that space, when people talk about D&I, diversity, inclusion, and whatever, when I'm operating like that, it keeps me clean in that spot because I really don't care who you are, what you look like. I'm here to do X thing, so I'm trying to deliver against it. Where is the talent, right? I don't make an assumption that just because you happen to look like me, that you can execute like me. Right? I don't do that. I don't make that assumption. I would hope, right? I would hope that all the people in my pathway, again, light blue, green, whatever, red, whatever, I don't care. I would hope that their level of execution is at such a level that allows us as a team to deliver something great. But in reality, 9 times out of 10 throughout my career, I look to the left, look to the right, and then there's nobody there that looks like me. And then when there are instances when there are people like me, I do not. That's a dangerous spot to be in, where you're making an assumption that just because they look like you, they soul brother number one, soul sister number one, and whatever. Because I have people roll up on me like that. They see me and they think that, oh, she black, so she gonna make it easy for me. Oh no, that bar's so high, you gonna work up in here, right? So when you're going into those spots and into those things, don't get comfortable just because you see somebody that happens to be, that looks like you, from an execution perspective. I think every minority, when they walk in a room, they count. Right? That's what we do. Every minority, when I talk to other minorities of different races or whatever, it's a natural thing, right? They're like, oh, how many? Right? And you may gravitate to, and you can socialize with, and you may have a level of camaraderie because you may have some shared experiences. But don't make an assumption just because the person happens to share the same ethnicity that they are just like you in any way, shape, or form, right? Because if you do, you're going to get hurt. So that's why when you go in, you need to look at them as an individual, as a human being. Don't go in with expectations. Right? Don't go in with these. I'm just telling you. I'm just going to be straight up. You go in there with this expectation that I see this person and they going to do this and they supposed to do this, and that. Too many times I done got no. First of all, one of the reasons why I try not to think about it, because I really want a person to see me as Renee Forney, a young woman, I'm going to use the word young, a young woman who came here and really delivered something great for us. The fact that I happen to be black, yeah.
Kirsten is telling you that it's time.
Okay.
And y'all know I'm a stickler. Now she done went to the difference. Now, okay, the joke is, this is Renee's daughter, and she coaches her. Mama, you remember the signs, right? This is to wrap it up. And so
it's when bad she when does she get to this.
When she get to this, it's you over, Mama. Just stop. Okay, so that's what she's doing. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love the fact that you guys joined us for our inaugural conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we forgot something. I promised somebody I would do something.
I'm so sorry. Renee has surprised something else to say.
I promised somebody I would do something. And this happens at events with us, the Divine Nine.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry.
I made a promise. I made a promise.
Okay.
So
well, y'all go ahead and do y'all thing.
Thank you to my Greek brothers and sisters for attending and supporting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Forget about
thank
y'all.
you. I'm going to thank
my legacy.
That part. Thank you guys so much for joining. And happy hour starts 5 minutes ago, and there should be food out there for you as well. Like I said, thank you guys. It does my heart so well to see you all here. And you're welcome. You're so welcome.